I'm back here with our third tutorial today. I am Pooja from Pooja's Crochet on Instagram and Facebook, and today we are going to be talking about a cable headband. Cable patterns have always seemed very difficult to people who are learning knitting, and it looks very complicated and scary to make this sort of a twisty pattern. But today we're going to try to start with this simple headband, which has just got a simple repeat of stitches, to try to uncomplicate this cable pattern. So this is again a very easy 8-row repeat, and we have a very simple specific number of stitches, so you will be able to follow the pattern. I'll tell you first of all what you will need for making this headband. As I had mentioned earlier, you will need any DK or worsted weight yarn. So here I'm using Special Stylecraft DK, which is just in my stash, one of the yarn that I have used a little before, but this is enough for me to probably use to complete this. Apart from that, you need 4 or 5 or size knitting needles. Straight needles are fine, you can even go for circulars as I have. Here today I'm taking a 4.5 millimeter needle, but you can go for any 4 or 5. For the cable pattern, one very important addition is the cable needle. This cable needle is what I have bought from Pradhan Embroidery Store. It's of Jyoti. Here I have it in multiple sizes. You usually need to use one which will match the size of your knitting needle. So these are in different sizes to match the different sizes of knitting needle that you may probably use. I'm going to be taking the second thickness one. If you do not have a cable needle, you can use a normal thick darning needle. You can use even a thin pencil if you have. My pencil is a little thick, but if you have a thinner pencil, you can use a pencil. This is a small stick which I have taken out from a broom. You can even use a broomstick. You can use any sort of a flat, straight rod of any kind to carry the cable stitches. As we go ahead with the tutorial, you will understand why you need a different needle to hold the stitches when you are making the cable pattern. So I am going to be using this cable needle along with my knitting needles, and here I have my yarn. So we start as we always do. For this particular pattern, we need a cast on of 15 stitches. So I'm going to start by casting on 15 stitches. As I had shown in my first tutorial, when we are casting on, we have held the yarn in the thumb and forefinger, and I use the long tail cast on. You can use any cast on technique. You can go through different YouTube tutorials and find various different types of casting techniques. But if you need any help for this particular type of cast on technique, you can always go back to my old tutorial and see that one. So I have completed casting on 15 stitches onto this needle. I prefer to always keep a check on number of stitches by counting it at every step, so that I have a better idea on if I am maintaining my stitches. I will be giving a written pattern also on the blog, which will make it easier for people who are used to following knitting patterns with a written tutorial, and who, if anyone prefers to have it in a written format. My first row, which is the right side row, is going to be a regular knit row. So I take the needle from the front to the back, wrap the yarn around and pull out the needle. At the same time I drop the stitch. Again the second, and we continue as this till the end of the row. We are now at the last 2 stitches. After knitting the complete first row, we turn the needle, and now we start with the second row. The second row has the first 3 stitches which are to be knit. So we take the needle from the front to the back, wrap the yarn around, pull out the needle, drop the loop, and drop the loop. So these 3 stitches actually establish the border which we have. The next 9 stitches are a part of the cable pattern, and then we have a border again. That's how it's divided as 3 plus 9 plus 3. That makes 15. So our next 9 stitches are to be purled. So I bring the yarn to the front, take the yarn round, wrap it, pull up a loop and drop. I have gone slower with the knit and purl stitches in my previous tutorial, which is the first one, the seed stitch headband. You can have a look at that. If you're watching this tutorial and if you are interested in learning the difference between continental and English type knitting, then you can drop a comment below. I may be looking at doing a live or another YouTube tutorial talking about the difference between continental and English type knitting. I have completed 9 stitches. At my last 3 stitches, again I knit the last 3. This is our wrong side row. After this, we turn the needle around, and now we are doing the first cable technique that we have. The first 3 stitches, as I said, is the border. Every row is knit. So now the first 3 stitches, I am going to make sure that you take the correct loop which is attached to the ball of yarn. That is shorter end of the other one is the shorter end of the yarn. 1, 2 and 3. Now the first which we have is we want to make this loop where this part comes to the front. So when we want to establish this sort of a front coming cable, what we have to do is, it's called C6F. That is the short form which is used for this. So C6F stands for the fact that the next 6 stitches are involved in this stitch. What we have to do is pick up your cable needle. The next 3 stitches have to be shifted from your working needle onto this cable needle and then dropped to the front. This needle is curved in such a way so that it can be held to the front. Probably the next cable I'll be making with a broomstick extension, so that you can have an idea on how that can be used. That becomes a little cumbersome to use because it's straight. Since this is a loop, it just holds the stitches very easily without needing to take any effort. But it is not necessary to have a cable needle for this pattern. After that, the next 3 stitches are knit. So assuming these 3 stitches do not exist at all, we take the next 3 stitches and we knit it. Now we have to again remember that we still have 3 stitches which we have missed. We take them to the other side. I'm so sorry, I have dropped the stitches. Yes, but we can still hold them back. We take these 3 stitches and then we use this as the working needle and we knit these 3 stitches. I understand that this is a little difficult to do for new knitters, but if you have done the basic stitches before, you will be able to understand how to do it. Your working yarn remains at the back. You keep knitting it normally, ignoring again, and this time you have to ignore that you have another knitting needle with you. There is another option of what can be done, which I will explain in my next cable also. Here we have done the last one. Pull up the loop and drop the needle. This twist will not be very appreciable at this stage, but as we go ahead with the pattern, you will be able to find how the pattern develops. After this, the next 3 stitches are knit, which are a part of the middle portion of the band. And the last 3, which are a part of the border. When we have picked up the stitches on this needle, we also have an option of putting them back onto our working needle and then do the knit from the working needle if you find that more comfortable. This is how it looks, but the pattern will be more appreciable as we go ahead. Now I turn the needle. The next, we knit the first 3 stitches. Our wrong side row has a single pattern repeat where we knit the first 3 stitches, purl the next 9 stitches, we have to ignore the fact that you may find a difference in the type of stitches because they are twisted in a certain way because of the fact that we've cabled them, but that should not affect you in your this particular backside row. To get a look of continuous knit stitches in this way, in this particular way, you have to have one row of knit and the next row repeated with purl. This is only then that we get this sort of a complete knitted look. The wrong side row always has to be purled to get this look. Okay, now we are done with this. We turn back. Now as we are done for the first row, we now knit the next row. The entire next row has to be knit. So as you will notice, even I am not a very fast knitter. It is absolutely okay to be at your own pace and take as long as you need to finish this pattern. The best part is that you have decided to learn it, and it is super fun to know how to do all these different types of knit stitches. It makes different projects very interesting. Every project has something new to offer. And I have knit to the end. This is our right side row. As you can see, it's more appreciable now that we have a diagonal outward protrusion. Our next row is now the wrong side row, which is again that same pattern repeat where we knit the first 3 stitches, purl the next 9, and knit the last 3. I hope you notice that every time I'm switching from knit to purl and purl to knit, the position of the yarn changes. In the knit, the yarn is always at the back, and in the purl, the yarn is always to the front. Our next is again the next step of cable that we do. In this, you take the cable stitches to the back of the needle. So let's start. The first 3 stitches are knit, which is the border. Now for this, the next 3 stitches also are knit. The next 3 stitches are to be taken onto the cable needle. So let me just attempt using this. Even if you take a broomstick or any other stick, try to keep them pointed so that it's easier to pick up. Now I have taken this and taken it to the back of the needle. This is 6/6B, that is the next 6 stitches are involved in the cable. The stitches involve the needle using the cable to be taken to the back of the needle. Remember, this is our working yarn. We ignore those 3 stitches for now, and we start knitting our next 3 stitches. Again, I understand this looks a little cumbersome, but you should attempt it once to see if you are able to easily get a hang of it. After this, since we have twisted the yarn to the other side, now you can see there is a right side loop. We have an option of taking the needle out from this, but here, since we have it only single-sided, what we can do is take these 3 loops that we have on this particular needle, on the back needle, and take them back to the working yarn needle. So I am taking these 3 stitches back onto the working needle. Again, this is the working loop. I have taken it to the back, got the stitches to the front, and then I will knit the next 3 stitches. So now you've seen both the variations of where we have a cable needle, where we can use the other end of the cable needle also as a needle, and this where we had only a single point which was pointed. That's why we had to take the stitches back onto the loop. As the last 3 stitches are the border, let's get done with that. After this, we turn back, and this is the last repeat of the pattern, which is the 8th row, which is where we knit the first 3 stitches. We purl the next 9, and then knit the last 3. This is a single repeat of the cable that you can see. If you assume start from here, this and this. When you continue going along, you will be able to establish this sort of a pattern. I will add a couple of photos at the end with more to get a better idea of how this looks. But I hope you've understood the pattern, and if you have any questions, again, you can DM me on Pooja's Crochet on Facebook or Instagram, or you can contact us on India Yarn Circle to ask any questions. Please do share your pictures and like and comment and share all these videos if you are enjoying learning knitting. Thank you. Bye bye.